Donna Goines, a Kenyatta novel, Crime Partners, Chapter 6. The street was dark as the two cars pulled up and parked. Kenyatta glanced up and down Greeley Street before getting out. On one side of the street was a junkyard. On the other was a group of dilapidated houses waiting to be torn down. The few remaining people in them had already gotten their notice to move, but they just hadn't complied with the order yet. Red, having jumped out of the car behind them when they parked, came up to the window. Kenyatta rolled his window down. Go across the street and check on the gate. The lock is supposed to be fixed so that it will be open, he ordered briskly. God damn, it's turning cold, Billy stated from the back seat as they watched Red run across the street. You gonna cut through that junkyard, Jackie said, already knowing the answer because Kenyatta had explained the gateway twice that evening before leaving the house. Nah, baby, not that one. We're gonna run around the block and cut through the junkyard over there to get away, Kenyatta answered sarcastically. Okay, my man, I asked for that, Jackie answered good-naturedly. But what about the dogs in there? I just hope your inside people have taken care of them. Kenyatta tossed his hands in the air. How the fuck should I know if it's taken care of or not? I arrived here with you, so I don't know. If Red don't get the shit bit out of him while he's fucking around over there, you'll know that everything has been taken care of. There should be a junk car waiting right inside the gate for us with the key in it. I forgot to tell you boys about that little bit of planning. A car? Billy said, surprised. I thought the brides were going to drive us away from here. No, not away from here. He twisted around in his seat. Brenda, you know where I want you to park over in the projects, don't you? She nodded her head in agreement. Don't worry about me, Kenyatta. I could find that spot blindfolded, honey. So don't worry about my part. You just make it over there. Kenyatta nodded his head. I know, baby. I ain't worried at all about you. Carol's going to follow you over there. He turned to the men in the back seat, then waited as Big Time came walking up. Big Time stuck his head in the window. Now it's like this. Big Time here is going to drive the car in the junkyard. He nodded to Big Time. Run over and check the car sitting near the gate. The key should be in the ashtray. Make sure it starts up and then leave the motor running if there is enough gas in it. He leaned back on the seat and continued talking. After we make the hit, we run into the junkyard, jump in the car, and Big Time here will drive us to the other side of the junkyard where we jump out, climb the fence, and cross the tracks into the projects. That's where the women will pick us up. This way, if there's any police after us, they should be completely thrown off course because they won't know where the fuck we're going. That's what's so sweet about this hit. It should go like clockwork. The getaway is perfect. You can't beat it. Red came back from across the street as Big Time went over. Kenyatta got out of the car as he came up. Is everything all right? Fine. The dogs were still tied up, but I took care of that. He took his pistol out and unscrewed the silencer from the barrel. I killed all four of them like you said and took the ropes off their necks. Told Big Time to spread them out a ways so it would look like they were loose when they got shot. He hesitated, then continued. I checked the trunk. All guns are there. Good, good, Kenyatta answered quickly. Okay, brother. You better get on out if you're coming. We ain't got that much time left. As the two men climbed out of the back seat, Kenyatta started across the street. He waved back at Brenda. I'll see you in a few minutes, girl. Be sure to drive careful. The men stood on the sidewalk and watched the cars disappear down the street. It was all a matter of time now, Billy reflected, as the taillights disappeared for good. Come on, Red said to the men and led the way across the street. We got to pick up our shit. Billy and Jackie fell in step behind him. I was under the impression we had our guns already, Billy said as he caught up with Red. What? Don't fool yourself about the pistols. We ain't taking no chances on them motherfuckers getting away. No sirree. Whenever Kenyatta planned something, he planned the shit out of it. Red saw the look of surprise on their faces and added, These pistols we got, brother, are our insurance pieces, that's all. You know, if we should get uptight or something like that, we'll have something to work with. But this ain't What we're going to hit them motherfuckers cops with. Man, we got some shit that makes sure we get them bastards. There was a note of glee in his voice. Hurry up, Kenyatta yelled as the men came through the junkyard gate. It was open just a crack, so that somebody came by they wouldn't notice it. By the time they reached the old broken down car they were going to use, Big Time had the trunk open. As the men took a quick look inside, Billy couldn't help but let out a yell of surprise. Inside the trunk were 4 pump shotguns already broken down. Get one, Kenyatta ordered the men. There's plenty shells for everybody too. He waited until each man had taken a gun and shells. I hope everybody knows how these little bastards work, he added quickly. We ain't got much time, so watch, in case you don't know. He quickly showed the men how to load them. Now, me and Red are going to take the dangerous side. Billy, we're crossing over to one of those empty houses, so watch which one we go into so that you don't shoot us by mistake. He looked from one man to the other. Billy, you and Jackie have to open fire first. I want you guys to wait until the cops have parked and got out, then cut loose on them. As soon as they duck around on the other side, if they're able, we hit them from the rear. We should be able to knock them out. He glanced at his watch, then cursed. God damn, let's get set. They should be here in 2 more minutes. He quickly led the way back to the gate. Keep the motor running, Big Time. That's all I want from you. Now, as I was saying, it shouldn't take but 2 or 3 minutes to knock these cops off. In fact, we ain't even got but that much time. The men were silent as they came out of the junkyard. There ain't much hiding places over here, Billy, so you and Jackie will have to just hang out in the dark. The cops won't be able to see you unless you move around. If you remain in one spot without moving, you'll take them completely by surprise. He waited until he was sure they understood. Well, we're going to get on across the street. The police are on their way. Neither man spoke until Kenyatta and Red had crossed the street and disappeared inside the nearest dark house. You have to give it to that motherfucker, Jackie stated quietly as they stared into the darkness. That bastard has really got it planned. I mean, this shit is together as far as I can see. I can dig it, Billy replied. You dig that house across the street, he said, pointing out the house on the block with a light on. I'll be willing to bet that when Betty called, she gave the police the address right over there. Yeah, that's got to be it. That way, the pigs will have to park damn near right in front of us, Jackie said, that nudged his partner. Looks like the shit is about to get in the fan, he stated quickly as the car came speeding down the block, its light shining brightly. The police car came on swiftly. As it approached the men, it began to slow down. As soon as it stopped, the 2 uniformed white men inside of it started to get out, then hesitated. The one on the passenger side picked up his microphone and spoke into it for a few minutes. Unknown to the waiting men, the officer was calling for a backup car. They didn't like the looks of the dark street. The driver of the car, Jim, didn't really care about how the street looked. His mind was on the captain who had chewed out his ass earlier that day because he had made a mistake the night before and almost shot a black detective. He was thinking at that moment how nice it would have been if he would have pumped 4 or 5 shots into the black bastard's ass. It wouldn't have been much worse if he'd shot the nigger. He ended up damn near getting suspended because of it. I don't like the looks of this, his partner said over and over again as they got out. Jim didn't even hear him. If they caught a black son of a bitch with a gun, as the call said, he'd make quick work of the nigger, he promised himself. It would be one dead black motherfucker, whether his partner liked it or not. He slammed the car door and started towards the rear of the car. Suddenly, out of the corner of his eye, he saw some motion where there shouldn't have been any. What the hell? He started to say. When flame leaped out of the darkness, a hard blow hit him in the chest, and he staggered heavily. As he reeled back against the car, the night seemed to explode with fire. He clawed at his holster, but it was a feeble effort. Another staggering blow sent him down to his knees, and before he could recover, he felt the pavement come up and smash him in the face. His partner heard the first shot and swore out loud. Then the night lit up for him as he stared through the windows of the car at the gun flashes coming out of the darkness. He glanced up and down the street frantically. He saw the red lights coming down the street and knew at once that it was the backup squad coming to help him. He let out a sigh of release even though he realized at once that it was too late for his partner. Then suddenly a blow struck him in the back and slammed against the car door. He jerked at the doorknob trying to re-enter the car. Somehow he managed to get the door open, but before he could get into the car, another staggering blow caught him in the middle of his back. He never knew when he hit the sidewalk because he was dead on his feet. The second police car came to a halt instantly beside the parkland. The black and white policemen inside the car looked at each other stunned. Before the driver could make up his mind, flame came blasting out of the darkness towards them. The shots took out the window, shattering it and covering the two men with glass. Neither man was hurt, though each was so frightened that fear kept them huddled down on the seat. The officer on the passenger side managed to get on the radio and send out a frantic call. As the officer stayed huddled on the seat, neither one saw the two men come out of the condemned house and move near to the car. Neither noticed the man pulling the small round-shaped ball from his pocket and remove the pen. Neither saw the thing make an arc in the air until suddenly they felt the car lifted off the ground as they were hurled towards death. They both died with neither man ever realizing how. The few people living inside the condemned houses hadn't bothered to come outside to see what the gunshots were all about. They stayed in their homes waiting out the noise of death and hoping against hope that none of the shots would hit them. Even though they lived in poverty and despair, none wanted to give up the meager existence of poor food and hopeless dreams. Red was the first one across the street, and Kenyatta walked across, examining the body of the policeman in the street to make sure he was dead. As the body made a final jerk, he aimed his shotgun at the man and pulled the trigger. The body jumped from the weight of the blow. Kenyatta continued to walk, only widening his steps. When he entered the junkyard, he closed the gate behind him, making sure it was locked. The men inside the waiting car watched their leader take his time. "God damn, the man has the nerve of 10 fools," Red said, as he waited impatiently for him. Big Time raced the motor. "I heard the shooting. Did everything go like planned?" he asked. Trying to fight down the panic inside him, he could hardly keep from putting the car in gear and racing away from there. He wanted to let the window down and yell for Kenyatta to come the fuck on. He wanted to drive away and leave Kenyatta's slow-moving ass. All these things and more flashed through his mind, but he fought down the panic. Billy and Jackie were the professional ones, but they too felt the need for speed. It didn't make sense wasting time. The job was over, and now they needed to get away. Why was he moving so slow? You didn't shoot cops every day, and if you ever did, you had better make quick tracks. Billy started to roll down his window and tell Kenyatta to bring his black ass on, but seeing the fear in the other two men in the front seat made him hesitate. If they were that frightened and showed it, how was he looking? He glanced over at Jackie. Yes, Jackie was nervous, but he didn't realize his impatience. He was slowly lighting a cigarette. Billy decided to follow his example, removing his pack and lighting it up. When Kenyatta finally reached the car, he pushed his pack of smokes up towards the front seat and held it. "Here, my man, you might as well take a smoke before we leave," he said sarcastically. Before the words were out of his mouth, Big Time had the car in gear, speeding away. "Hey, my man," Billy yelled, "slow this motherfucker down. We don't want to run into anything now." "He's telling you right," Kenyatta added from his front seat. "Slow this motherfucker down," he yelled as Big Time almost hit another junk parked car in the aisle. In the next instant, they went down an aisle that was blocked. As Big Time tried to back out, he ran into another parked car. The man muttered under his breath and put the car in gear and pulled forward. As soon as he got the car straightened out, he began backing up again. This time he made it back to the aisle they had started from. He turned around and tried another one. This too was piled up and blocked by other junks. "God damn it, Kenyatta, you planned everything, but which way to take us where we're supposed to go?" Jackie shouted from the rear seat. "Yeah, man, but it ain't no big thing. It shouldn't be no big problem getting out of here," he stated, with more assurance than he felt. As Big Time picked another dead end, the men began to worry. "Maybe we had better get out and walk," Billy said. "We ain't got that much time. If he keeps fucking around, police are going to be swarming all over this motherfucker." Even Kenyatta realized the truth in his words. They had time, but they didn't have that much time. If they didn't hurry up, the junkyard could turn into a trap. Once the police realized that they had gone through it, it would be covered from front to back. "Man, take your time and look where you're going," Kenyatta ordered. If I could only turn on the lights for a minute or two, Big Time whined, I could see what I'm doing. Hey man, let me under the steering wheel, Billy growled. We can't have no lights, ignorant ass motherfucker. Where's your brain, nigga? In your ass? His temper was rising as he began to realize that Big Time's driving could get them busted. Here, 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 Kenyatta yelled over and over again. He didn't want the men to panic. That was the last thing he needed. You guys just stay cool. Everything's going to be all right. Make a right turn, boy, he ordered sharply. I've been over this yard a dozen times and I know the way out. It just looks funny at night without any lights on. Turn left at the next corner. That's right. This road should lead us right back to the back fence. As Big Time noticed an open road in front of him, he began to speed up again. Slow this motherfucker down, Kenyatta ordered, then pulled out his pistol. If I have to tell you again, I'm going to blow your shit out. He cocked the pistol in Big Time's face. At the sight of the cocked pistol, Big Time began to shake all over. He swerved off the road and struck another parked car. The speed of the moving car slammed the men in the front against the dashboard. The men in the back came out better. Billy cursed loudly as he spit blood from a cut lip. Red pulled back bleeding from a large cut on his temple. Kenyatta came out a little better. He only hurt his arm, but his temper was at a breaking point. As the men settled back in the car, Big Time sat behind the steering wheel crying like a child. I couldn't help it. I just couldn't help it, Kenyatta. You shouldn't have pointed the gun at me, man. Real tears began to roll down his cheeks as he cried louder. In disgust, Kenyatta raised the pistol and pointed at the man's head. This is the reason I brought your punk ass along, Big Time. I wanted to see if you had any nuts. Now I see you ain't nothing but pure pussy, man. Pure pussy. He raised the pistol and pulled the trigger. Motherfucker, Jackie stated, then turned to his partner. Billy, wipe everything off back here, man. Make sure we don't leave any prints in this ride. Billy was staring straight ahead at Kenyatta. The sight of Big Time slumped over the wheel didn't frighten him, but it surprised the hell out of him. Yeah, man, we better clean up. In the front seat, Kenyatta had started to get out. Then he saw what they were doing in the back and started to do the same thing in the front. Make sure you wipe up everything, Red, he ordered sharply. Red jumped to it, wiping everything in sight. The cold-blooded murderer had shaken him to his roots. Kenyatta glanced up as everyone came out of the car. The shotguns are just excess baggage, he yelled. So just make sure they're clean of prints and dump them in the ride. We got to move, Billy said under his breath as he quickly wiped his weapon. We done wasted too much fucking time in this junkyard. I know just what you mean, Jackie replied as quickly as he tossed his gun on the seat. Let's make tracks. Don't worry, we still got plenty of time, Kenyatta stated coldly as he led the way towards the rear of the junkyard. The sound of sirens could be heard in the distance as the man hurried. Shit, Billy cursed as he stepped into the mud puddle. How much farther have we got to go? The sound of the men pulling their feet out of sucking mud could be heard. Finally, in the distance, they could see the tall wire fence. When they reached the fence, Kenyatta led the way along, looking for a certain spot, and he finally found what he was looking for. The wire had been cut, and underneath the fence, someone had placed cardboard so that the men could slip under it without getting too dirty. Kenyatta was the first one under, and after he got to the other side, he held the wire up slightly so that the rest of the men wouldn't have too much trouble. After they were all across, he removed the cardboard and carried it down the railroad tracks until they were quite a distance from where they had crossed over. Not until then did he toss the cardboard away. There was no light anywhere around the tracks, and Billy wondered how Kenyatta could see where they were to go. But just as the thought was flashing through his mind, Kenyatta left the tracks and started making his way through some weeds. The men followed behind him quietly. Suddenly, out of the darkness, they could see buildings. Before the men could realize where they were heading, they were on pavement. Then the sight of a cigarette glowing inside a parked car filled them with joy. They had made it.